We know that the Apostle Paul was finishing his first letter to the church in Thessalonica when he added these final admonitions and even some warnings. Good morning, I'm Pastor Ernie Lewis of the Blue Point Church in Sisseton, Illinois, with your thoughts for Thursday. It would seem that the warnings about prophecy might be a cultural thing. During the time of the apostles, there were those who would receive a prophecy from time to time. They would bring it to the church. I don't think that's what this is about, though. I think this morning is just as important during our day as it was back then. Verse 20 of chapter 5 says, "Do not despise prophecies." Now, in the New Testament church, things may have looked much differently than they do in our modern day churches today. First of all, there was no big comfortable building with air conditioning, with padded pews or nice worship furniture. They met in the homes of those who were hospitable in their church or in their city. And perhaps sometimes there was a word of prophecy given by one of the members to share with the congregation what God is doing among them or what God is saying to them. Now, of course, you had to be careful that the words that were spoken were not contrary to the gospel. They had to be aligned with the gospel that the early church had been given. Paul deals with that a little bit later. But it would seem that the congregation often got caught up in the idea of speaking in tongues as a much more glamorous and perhaps even a sought-after gift. Paul deals with tongue speaking over in 1 Corinthians chapter 14, where he actually commands them, there should only be 2 or 3 who would speak in tongues, and then they would each do it in order, taking turns. And by the way, there must be an interpreter in the service. None of this is what we see in the present day church where tongues is allowed. But since everyone wanted to speak in tongues and experience the miracle as well as the thrill of the Spirit's work in them, they seemed to despise the prophecy that was brought to the church. Modern day prophecy, you realize, is whenever the preacher reads the written word of God and he expounds on the meaning or he applies it to our present day life. There may be some even in the church today that despise prophecy. They don't really care for the words that were spoken or preached. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of people that would rather have just an old-fashioned singing, fill the service with all kinds of songs, maybe a few testimonies, a special now and then. But one reason that Paul says don't despise prophecies is he knows how important it is. In Romans chapter 1 and verse 17, it says, "Faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God." He knows the importance of the word of God for our daily lives. And we need to recognize the importance of the word as it is proclaimed, as it is read. Never get tired of hearing from God's inspired and living word, which gives us direction each day for our Christian lives.